Thank everybody for such an outpouring of support and condolences, and just it's been unbelievable, really overwhelming. I didn't have any idea that when I woke up yesterday morning I'd be spending the day receiving so many text messages and emails and phone calls and so forth. My father touched a lot of people. Sorry. He touched a lot of people in his life, and some of you all got to know him, I know, and he was a special person, and I just feel very fortunate to have had such a wonderful father for 61 years. He was obviously more than a father to me. He was a mentor and, someone that basically, showed me what this profession was all about. And when he was alive, I thought about him every day I went to the field because, the things that he preached to me about coaching, were things that I tried to apply every day. People wondered if I would coach the game last night, but for me there was never any doubt because, my dad always said, it's not about you, it's about the kids, and you have to be there for the kids always. And I needed to show my players that, there's a lot of hard things in life, but you deal with them, and I wanted them to know that I was going to be there for them. That's why I went into coaching, because your players are everything to you. And those are lessons that I learned from my dad. So now that he's passed, that doesn't mean that things change. And in all honesty, being in the dugout last night, I kind of felt his presence even more so because, in all honesty, we probably spent 80% of our lives together on a ball field or in a dugout. So it was only appropriate that I be there with him and spirit. And I'm just so proud of the guys. They went out there. I didn't want to be a distraction to them, but they went out and played great. And obviously I wanted to win the game on the day my father passed away. And they certainly made sure that happened because I thought they did a tremendous job. And Alan Dunn and Sean Ochinko and Nolan Kane did a great job, because I wasn't much of a coach in the dugout last night. I was, I was there, but they were doing most of the work and making many of the decisions. So I'm very grateful to have a very outstanding and competent staff from that standpoint. It was a hard morning, I didn't expect it when I woke up, but when my brother called me, he literally had just passed a couple minutes earlier, and I went straight to St. James Place and just sat in his room with him for about 3 hours and just stared at him. It looked like he was sleeping, and I didn't see the 90-year-old man that has been struggling with his health over the last period of time. As soon as he passed, I saw that young coach, that mentor and leader of people. I know you all don't know much about his career. He's pretty much a legend down in South Florida. He was, I talked to Skip this morning, and Skip put it perfectly to me, He said he was the first one. Skip learned from him. Ron Frazier learned from him. All the great coaches down there. Dad was the leader. He was the one that started it all and made them take college baseball serious down in South Florida. And that's going to be a big part of his legacy. But he was also a maverick. He was, my dad, he was raised a certain way by his parents, and he believed in certain things, and nobody was ever going to make him change. So, as the athletic director at Miami-Dade, he was the first administrator to hire another administrator of color. He hired a lady by the name of Carrie Meek as his associate athletic director. She went on to become a state senator. He hired the first African-American coach. And that man, Traz Powell, they now have the football stadium in Miami named after him, a football stadium for the high schools to play. And I remember my dad telling me, you know, that when he went in there and told the president who he wanted to hire, and the president didn't want him to hire him, and Dad says, well, you're going to have to fire me because I'm going to hire them because they're the best people for the job. And, you know, those kind of things, not a lot of people knew about my dad, you know, the things that he did for so many different people. As I'm getting these text messages from people all around the country, so much, you know, I already knew it, but it really drove the point home of just how many lives he's touched just by being himself, you know, throughout the country. So, you know, I may be his son and my siblings and I are his children, and obviously he was, you know, the most influential person in our lives with my mother, but he was really a man for everyone because he made an impact in a lot of different ways and touched an awful lot of lives. So he lived a full life, and you know, I'm so proud to be his son.
We wouldn't be back if we didn't ask you about the pitching rotation.
Good. Yeah, we'll go with Hess, and Cole Henry's going to be good to go Saturday, and then we'll go Eric Walker to start the game on Sunday.
How do you think Marceau might be used, if at all?
Well, you know, Marceau threw great the other day, and he'll be ready to go. So I'm not sure exactly where he'll pitch, but you know, as long as he's feeling good, he's going to be ready to go. He'll have a very important role this weekend, and he knows that.
Cabrera had been struggling of late. How encouraged were you to see him kind of snap out of that last
Yeah, very much so. You know, you've heard me say this many times. This game is really hard to play, and hitting is a very difficult aspect of it. And even the best, you know, go through struggles. We've seen Antoine struggle. We've seen Zach Watson struggle. We've seen Cabrera struggle. You know, in the old days, you know, we saw Blake Dean struggle. We saw Jared Mitchell and DJ LeMahieu. Everybody has their struggles in this game. It's a hard game to play, especially to hit. And, you know, there's so much pressure on those top guys on our team. We know that. And when they all aren't hitting at the same time, it's really hard for us to score runs. But last night, you know, it was kind of good conditions to hit. The wind was blowing out, and you know, they were very aggressive at the plate. And you know, listen, I've coached a lot of games against quote-unquote inferior teams that have been really hard to beat because, you know, you hit balls right at people or whatever. I was just really proud the guys, you know, they went out there and played with a purpose and didn't let up, and which, you know, we were pretty thin on our pitching, and I didn't know if the game was going to be a 20-18 game or not, you know. So they didn't let up at all, and I thought they did a really great job. So now, of course, the caliber of pitching this weekend will be ratcheted up, starting with Zach Thompson tomorrow night, who I know very well from coaching him with the USA team last summer. So he's going to be a tremendous challenge for us, and they've got other arms that are really good. So, you know, our guys are going to have to, you know, they're going to have to rise up to meet the challenge, and it'll be a great challenge. But hopefully, our pitchers will be a challenge for Kentucky as well. But you know, it's exciting, the opening of the conference season, and I'm glad we get to open at home. I'm really glad that we're home this weekend, you know, with all the personal things that I'm having to deal with.
You feel good about?
You think you're going to have to take any extended time?
No, Mike, I'm okay. Yeah, my mother is doing great. You know, I have, you know, 4 wonderful children. Nick is flying in from South Bend this weekend, and my other children are here taking good care of her. My wife's been unbelievable. We're going to have a lot of friends and family coming in, you know, for the weekend. The funeral will be on Monday. So, you know, there's no reason why I can't, you know, go coach at practice today and coach through this weekend. And, you know, then Sunday night we'll have the beginning of visitations at 7 o'clock. Hopefully our game will be over by then, and, you know, I'll be able to greet the people, and then the next day we'll have the services and the burial and all that goes with that. So, you know, I'm going to try to just keep my focus on doing what we need to do to give ourselves the best chance to beat Kentucky.
What about the start of SEC play? Where are you at as far as holistically on your team? Just the idea of, you know, be ready versus never ready, you know, that whole thing.
Mike, you never feel totally ready in this business. You know, you always feel like there's something that we can do better, or something we should have coached them better, or whatever. I mean, it's just the nature of this business. 37 years into it, you know, you still, you know, feel the same way. You know, you're anxious because you don't know exactly. I mean, there's certainly areas of our team I wish were showing a little bit better at this time, but you know, there's other areas of our team that I think are really good. So, you know, I've said it many, many times. You're probably sick and tired of hearing me say it for 13 straight years, but you know, I want us to be a better team in March than we were in February, and I want us to be a better team in April than March, and a better team in May than April, and a better team in June than May. And you know, I feel like we're moving in the right direction, but we're certainly not a perfect team by any stretch of the imagination. And we're not really even 100% certain on which is the right personnel yet, you know. So when these SEC games begin, this is the time that separate the men from the boys, you know. This is when if you want to be counted on and you want to help LSU be a winner, this is when you gotta step forward against the best competition. And so I think things will emerge as we're going through the league. Be nice when we can get a couple of pitchers back. You know, we're still dealing with some nagging injuries to our pitchers, so I don't really feel like we've got our full complement of arms for a weekend series, which concerns me a little bit. You know, I'd love to have Jaden Hill available. I'd love to have Chase Costello available. You know, we're down a couple of guys, and you know, once those guys get back, assuming the rest of our staff stays healthy, we'll keep getting stronger. But we're going to try to fight through this weekend, and hopefully we'll pitch great and, you know, do the things it takes to win.
You mentioned Costello. Has his strange soreness returned?
No, he just, you know, it's finally feeling good, but you have to work him back. You can't just all of a sudden he feels good and throw him in a game. So he hasn't had any side work done yet. You know, he hasn't thrown any bullpen sessions and that type of thing. So I would expect that he'd be back by next week in the way things look right now.
With the 2 rainouts in the road series, does it feel like it got here faster than it usually does?
Well, you know, I'm disappointed about how we performed on the road. You know, the 3 games in Texas and up in Natchitoches the other night. You know, not to take anything away from our opponents. I mean, you know, Northwestern State played great the other night, and their pitcher was really tremendous. But we've just got to get better. We got to get better. We got to get tougher. We got to just do something. You know, we have to have guys that want to be extraordinary, and if you want to win on the road, and we haven't proven we can win on the road yet. But like I told them when we got back from Natchitoches, we'll worry about that after we finish playing Nichols next Wednesday. Let's take advantage of the fact that we're at home for 5 straight games, and let's see if we can take care of business. If we're in a, you know, if we take care of business, our record will be pretty good at the end of next Wednesday, and then we'll concern ourselves with what we got to do to win in Athens, Georgia, or anywhere else on the road. But you know, we haven't passed that test yet of being a road warrior. But right now that doesn't matter. We just need to try to get the job done here at home.
What does it take on the road? Just focus?
You got to play better than the other team. I know that sounds simple, but you know, when the other team is in their comfortable environment and you know they get to bat last in the 9th inning, and you know, just a lot of that kind of stuff. You know, the fans are against you. You just got to outplay the other team. You can't just play with them. You've got to play better than them. And then sometimes by a significant margin just to win a close game. So, you know, it's a lesson that hasn't been learned yet. And we weren't too good at it last year, and we haven't been good at it yet this year. But for many years, we've been great at it. You know, we've had years where we've won all our road series and, you know, had phenomenal records on the road. So it's just, you know, these guys need to learn how to do that. But we need to make it tough for Kentucky on the road this weekend. You know, we need to take advantage of the fact that we're at home and we're going to have the fan support and we're going to have the comfortable beds to sleep in and the, you know, the normal routine, and we get to bat last. So if it means that we have to get the game-winning hit in the bottom of the 9th inning, we have that opportunity to do it this weekend, if so be.
Controlling the run game, is that something?
Yeah, that's a big thing, going to be a big, big thing. You know, we met all morning about this topic and how to work on this, because one of the concerns I have is we haven't thrown out many base stealers. You know, last night, you know, was kind of a weird night, you know, because we didn't use a lot of the pitchers that we're going to use on the weekend. And, you know, those guys are a little nervous because they haven't pitched much, and they're just happy if they're throwing the ball over the plate, so they don't really have the, you know, just the total composure and poise of being able to do the other things that are part of pitching, like holding runners. And that's part of the reason why I took Brock Mathis out of the game last night, because he was getting a little frustrated, you know. So, you know, we got him out once we had a big lead. But this weekend is going to be a challenge because Kentucky has attempted 55 stolen bases. By comparison, we've attempted 20. So, you know, they're going to run. I mean, they've got 6 or 7 guys in their lineup that they're going to run with, and we're going to have to figure out a way to stop that running game. The best way is not even to let them get on base, but of course, that's not going to happen every time. So, we're going to work on some things and see if we can't slow them down a little bit.
Do you feel like it's more a matter of the pitchers doing a better job than a problem with Brock or his arm?
I think it's everything. I think it's the pitchers have to be quicker. We have to do a better job as coaches of throwing over and calling pitch outs and, you know, varying our deliveries to the plate. We got to use a slide step more frequently. And when Brock has a chance, he's got to have a good transfer and throw a strike to second base. And so I think everybody contributes to the fact that we've struggled with it, but it's not something that I'm, you know, going to give up hope. I think we've got the ability to stop the other team's running games. I remember a few years back we went to play at Auburn, and they had stolen some ridiculous amount of bases going into this series, 120 or something, and they didn't steal a single base the whole weekend against us. But we lost 2 out of 3 of the games. So there's going to be more to the games than just that aspect of it. And so we can't put so much emphasis on it that we forget about the rest of the game.
Has Cole felt good all week in his side work?
He took a couple of days off of throwing, and that did him wonders. And the day we were in Natchitoches, he stayed back. He didn't go on the trip with us, and he did a little bit of throwing that day, actually up to 120 feet, and he felt good. And then yesterday he got on the mound and had what I would classify a light bullpen session, and he felt great. So I would anticipate he'll be fine.
Just having Marceau and McHale maybe be long relief guys open things up maybe more than it might?
Yeah, see, McHale was a real highlight of the other night. I thought he threw the ball the best he has, you know, as he's been trying to get back. So I'm encouraged by his you know, the level that he pitched the other day and his availability. And you know, Landon could easily be starting the game, but we just thought the right thing to do would be to go with Walker at the beginning. I don't, you know, expect Walker to go 7 or 8 innings, and hopefully Landon will feel good, and he'll be ready to piggyback him.
It seems like you still have a lot of tools. You just have to figure out how to use them, or maybe you're using them in different ways than you thought.
It's not as many tools as you may think, because, you know, Jaden Hill's out and Costello's out, and of course we had some other guys that have been out, and you know, then all of a sudden, you know, Cole Henry has to leave the game the other day because of some tightness, and even after Landon threw the other day, you know, he didn't feel great, so we're a little bit holding our breath that he feels good. So it's just, you know, injuries are part of the game, and especially with pitchers, and it's frustrating to have to deal with because you never know when you have that full deck of cards to handle. So what may appear to be a lot of options to the media or to the fans, internally you don't quite see it that way because you know who's kind of nicked up a little bit and what their limitations are because of those injuries.
So how is Jaden Hill's recovery coming? It's
coming really good. I mean, he's, you know, but it, you know, without talking in medical terms, you know, I mean, he's entered into the pre-throwing rehabilitation part now, okay? Like, he's rested his arm. He doesn't feel any pain anymore. You know, they do all kinds of testing and stressing of his arm, and he's not feeling any pain. So now, this week, he's been back into a pre-throwing, building strength type of thing. And then we're hoping that maybe Saturday he'll be able to start playing catch, and then it'll be a matter of progressing from there. But, you know, with pitchers, you can't just go from, oh, I don't hurt anymore, to I can pitch 7 innings. It just doesn't work that way with their arms. Not if you want to take care of them.
With some of the other guys out or limited, how important is it for Hess to get you guys off to the kind of start you need on Friday night?
It's always important, as you know, James. We need Zach to pitch his best game of the year for us because the kid we're going up against is really good. I wouldn't not be surprised if Zach Thompson doesn't go in the middle of the first round in the draft in June. And I had him down in with the USA team, and he pitched twice for us. I think he pitched once against Taiwan, and he pitched down in Cuba. And he's legit. I mean, he's left-handed, 94 miles an hour with a really good slider, a good athlete, and a really good kid, too. I really like Zach. And with that said, obviously we want to do everything we can do to beat him this weekend, but we're just not going to score a lot of runs against an arm like that. Nobody does. His ERA is 2.3 or something like that. So you have to assume that Friday night is going to be a low-scoring game. So that's, the pressure's on. You got to play in a really, I hate to say perfect, but you got to do the little things, and you got to take advantage of your scoring opportunities because you're not going to have a lot of them. And then your starting pitcher has to do the job. He's got to hold the other team down, and walks will kill you, especially with a team that can steal bases, because you walk a guy, it's like giving up a double, and now a little bloop single gives him a run. So Zach's got to be at the top of his game. He's got to be the veteran, the leader of our staff like we expect him to be, and he knows that. He's ready for it.